multiplying and dividing decimals. So here I have 500ths times 7/10. So the way that we're going to learn to do this is we're going to convert these ones into fractions, because it's going to make our life much easier, the calculations, and you're going to see that it's going to make things much easier. So please do it in this way. So okay, how do I write 500ths as a fraction? We're going to do 5/100 times 7/10. Okay, wonderful. So this is going to sound contradictory, what I'm going to say here. And we're going to ask you not to simplify your fractions. What? Like we have been using all this time when we're doing multiplication of fractions and division of fractions and saying all the time simplify, 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 simplify. And here we're saying we're not going to simplify. Okay, so let me clarify that. It's not that we're not going to simplify. What happens is that because we want to give our answer in a decimal, we have to keep our denominator in powers of 10. That means that we need to keep our denominator, hold on, that this is not writing very well, denominator, it has to be a power of 10. That means that what option do we have? It can be a 1. Why 1? Because 10 to the power 0 is 1. Like if I have the ones unit, it can be a 1, or it has to be or 10 or 100 or 1,000 and so on. Okay, so it has to be, the denominator has to be in one of these ones. It's not helpful when I have a denominator as a 3 or I don't know, a 7 or something like that. So that's what we have to keep on mind. Okay, so good. Now that I have that here, that's why I'm not going to be canceling this 5 and this 10, for example, because that will make this 10 will make it a 2, and then I will have a 200 in my denominator. Okay, so I'm not going to be simplifying. Okay, what I'm going to do is the following. See what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to do 5 times 7 over 100 times 10, which is 1,000. Agree? And that means that it's going to be 35 thousandths. Agree? And how do we write that as a decimal? Very simple. We just have to do 0.035. Why? Because I have to end it in the thousands. So I have 3 zeros here, indicating that I have to have 3 decimal places at the end, because I have to end it in the thousands. So that will be my answer at the end. Okay, wonderful. What this is going to avoid, a lot of girls make mistakes when you start moving decimal points, and actually moving decimal points is a shortcut, is not mathematical correct. So this is the way that you have to do it. Okay, wonderful. Let's do another example here. I have here another example. Okay, this one. Okay, this was supposed to be red, and I don't know why it's not. It changed color, but that's okay. I'm going to put it down so that I have more space here. Okay, wonderful. Let's do this one. Okay, so we're going to do exactly the same. What do I have here? I have 8/10. How do we write that as a fraction? 8/10. I'm not simplifying, remember? At the moment, I'm not simplifying. Why? Because I need my denominator to be in powers of 10. Then I have 3, is these 10,000s? Yes, so 3 10,000s. I'm just going to count, make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Then times 300. And how do I write 300 as a fraction? 300/1. Wonderful. So what I'm going to be canceling here or simplifying is because I have here zeros on the top, and I also have zeros here on the denominator. But if I cancel this 0 and this 0, like this one and this one with this one and this one and this one, I'm not messing anything up because I still have the denominator as a power of 10. Okay, so what I'm going to be writing here is I have 8 times 3 times 3, that is 8 times 9, which is 72. Okay, over, and what do I have underneath? 10 times 100, which is going to be 1,000. So 100 and okay, 1,000. And then I have this is equal to 72 over 1,000. So 72 thousandths. So how do I write this one? 0.072 because I have to finish in the thousands. I have three zeros underneath, 3 decimal places. Okay, wonderful. So you see that we went in just one step and we did it very quickly, all the canceling and moving around of all the places value. Okay, let's do this one. So now we're going to do division. I'm going to move you down because I need space. Move to the side. Okay, good. So what do I have here? So I have 2 and 4/10. How do we write that one as a fraction? So 24 over 10. Agree? Wonderful. Divided by 6 over 1,000. So how do we divide fractions? We do a stay, change, flip. So I have to write this one as 24 over 10 times 1,000 over 6. Wonderful. And then again, if I cancel, I'm not going to be canceling this 0. Why? Because I need my denominator to be, okay, sorry. I need my denominator to be in powers of 10. So, but if I cancel this 0, I will still have this one as a 1. That's okay. So it has to be 1, 10, 100, or whatever it is. So that's okay. So I can cancel this a 0 and a 0. And then the 24 and the 6 can also be simplified. So I can do 24 divided by 6 is 4. And this one is a 1. Wonderful. So what do I have left? I have a 4 times 100 over 1. So this is going to be equal to 400. Wonderful. So that's the answer for this one. Okay, wonderful. Let's do this 3 here that I have in order. Okay, so we're going to do the first one here. So what we want you to start developing is a skill that is going to help you to get answers, like solutions to these problems very quickly. So if you have 1 divided by 1/10, there are 2 ways that you can do that. This one is what the story that we have been using thus far. That's one way of doing it. Another one is just going and say, okay, I can times this one by 10. And if I do that underneath, I can have to do the same thing on the top. And then that means that this is going to be 10 over 1, which is 10. So the idea is that very quickly, you can see that every time that I have this one, the answer is going to be 10. The other way that you can do it is if I had 1 over 1/10, what we were doing just before is saying, okay, 1 divided by 1/10 is the same as rewriting 1 times, before I do that times, divided by 1 over 10th, and then stay, change, flip. That means that is 1 times 10 over 1, and the answer to this one is 10. So you see, we get to the same answer in whatever way you want. The reason why we're being very, very, very strict about these, girls, is because we see a lot of our year 11s and 12, when they want to do these kind of things, they're always going to 1 divided by 0.1. And then they start using the method that you have learned in primary school, and or maybe even in year 7. And they make mistakes. Very often they make mistakes. If you use this method, it's less likely that you have mistakes, and it's more about being flexible with your numbers and very more fluent in the way that you're doing your operations. Okay, so if this 1 over 1/10 is 10. What will be this one be? So I have 2 over 100. Hopefully you're all saying, and I'm not going to work it out, is 200. Very quickly. If you don't believe me and you have to do either of these operations, do it and verify. What about this one? 3 over 1,000. So it's going to be 3,000. That quickly. Okay, girls? Check it out if you don't believe me. Okay, let's do these ones. So we have a few more here to do. Okay. I'm going to move this one down because, or maybe I can move this one up a little bit. And you down. Okay, if I have something like this. So 36 hundredths, so I'm going to write it as a fraction, 36 hundredths divided by 9 thousandths. How do we solve this? 36, stay, change, flip. Good, fantastic. So again, I can see that I can simplify this. 36 divided by 9 is 4, so 4, and this one is 1, and then this one I cancel this 0 and this 0 and this 0 and this 0, because then I end up with a 1 in my denominator, which is fine, and then I have 4 times 10, which is 40, and that's my final answer. Okay, beautiful. Now let's do these ones. So this one, the first one that I have here. So if I have 2/10 to the power of 3, so first is negative. So my answer, is it going to be positive or negative? So we know that if I have a negative, this means that I'm timesing this number 3 times, agree? So negative times negative, positive, times negative, negative. So I know that my answer is going to be negative. That's the first thing that I need to know. Now, what do I have to do 2/10 to the power of 3? So that means that is 2/10 times 2/10 times 2/10, which is equal to negative 8 over 1,000. That means that this is going to be equal to negative 8 thousandths. And that's the answer. The other way that you could have done it is say, okay, this is going to be equal to, I know that my answer is going to be negative, agree? And then you say 2 over 10 is still all of it to the power of 3. And the way that we solve this one is I have my negative. I know that my answer is going to be negative 2 to the power of 3 and 10 to the power of 3. And this is equal to negative 2 to the power of 3, I know that is 8. And 10 to the power of 3, I know that is 1,000. So my answer is negative 0.008. 8 thousandths. Negative 8 thousandths. Wonderful. Now, let's do the last one. Okay, so this one. Be careful. This one has the negative outside of the brackets. And remember, when we're doing bit maths, we do brackets first, then indices. Agree? So this is like having a negative 1 times this. Okay, be very careful with that. So I'm first solving the brackets. That means that the first thing that I'm solving, so my answer is going to be negative. Why? Because the negative is outside of the square. So negative times what I'm going to solve inside, okay? And what I'm going to solve inside is going to be, how do I write this one as a fraction? So it's 12 over 10, and this is a square, agree? I'm going to follow the method that I did here. So then I have a negative 12 square over 10 square, and that's equal to negative 144 over 100. That means that is negative, so I need to have 2 decimal places. So it's going to be negative 1 and 44 hundredths. And that's my final answer. Okay, girls? Wonderful. Now you can go and do your questions from your booklet.